What's something you still can't believe to this day? My roommate Tyler started acting weird 3 months before I figured out what he was really doing. At first it was small things. He'd come home from work at odd hours, sometimes 2 a.m., sometimes not at all. When I'd ask where he'd been, he'd give vague answers about overtime shifts or helping a friend move. Tyler worked at a call center. They didn't do overnight shifts, but I let it slide because we weren't close friends, just two guys splitting rent on a cheap apartment near campus. Then he started wearing different clothes. Tyler had always been a jeans and t-shirt guy, but suddenly he was coming home in button-down shirts and slacks. Nice ones too, way nicer than anything a call center worker could afford. When I commented on it, he got defensive and said his mom had bought him new work clothes. The packages started arriving next, 3-4 times a week, always addressed to Tyler, but with different names on the return labels. Christopher Lee, Marcus Webb, David Park. I asked him about it once and he laughed it off, said they were props for a YouTube channel he was starting. Except I never saw any camera equipment or filming. His sleep schedule got even stranger. Some nights he'd be awake until 4 a.m., pacing in his room, talking on the phone in a voice that didn't sound quite like his own. Other nights, he'd sleep all day and leave right before sunset. I started keeping track without really meaning to, noticing the patterns that weren't quite patterns. Tyler's phone habits changed too. He had 3 phones suddenly. 3 different phones that would buzz and ring at all hours. He'd check each one separately, responding to some and ignoring others. When I asked why he needed 3 phones, he said one was for work, one personal, and one was his old phone he kept as a backup. But I'd seen him answer all 3 and have completely different conversations, different voices, different names, different personalities. Money started appearing. Tyler had always been broke, asking to borrow $20 for gas or splitting groceries down to the penny. But suddenly he was buying expensive takeout, new furniture, upgrading his gaming setup. When I asked if he got a raise, he just smiled and said he'd been doing some side work. The final weird thing was the notebook. I found it by accident when I was looking for my charger behind the couch. A small black notebook filled with Tyler's handwriting. Pages and pages of information. Names, addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, social security numbers. Some of the names matched the packages. Others I didn't recognize. But here's what made my stomach drop. My information was in there too. My full name, birthday, social security number, my parents' address, my bank account number, details about my schedule, my classes, my girlfriend's name. He'd been documenting everything about my life. I took photos of the pages with my phone and put the notebook back exactly where I found it. That night I stayed awake listening to Tyler on the phone in his room. The voice he was using sounded exactly like mine. The words he was saying were about needing money, about having an emergency, using phrases I actually used. I waited until he left the next morning. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I went through his room. Under his bed I found stacks of driver's licenses with his photo, but different names. Credit cards with names matching the packages. Bank statements showing deposits of thousands of dollars from companies I'd never heard of. In his closet were different wardrobes, business suits, construction gear, medical scrubs, even a police uniform. Each outfit was complete, down to the name tags and ID badges, all with Tyler's face, all with different identities. That's when I realized what Tyler had been doing for 3 months, and I realized I was next. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I stare at the evidence spread across Tyler's room, my heart pounding so hard I can feel it in my fingertips. The IDs, the credit cards, the different wardrobes. It's like I've stumbled into the workshop of a professional con artist, which, I realize with a sickening lurch, is exactly what I've done. My phone feels heavy in my hand as I methodically photograph everything. The stack of driver's licenses with Tyler's face, but different names. The credit cards arranged in neat rows. The bank statements showing deposits that no call center job could possibly explain. I make sure to capture the notebook pages with my own information. The detailed notes about my schedule, my girlfriend, my parents. Each click of my camera feels like documenting my own vulnerability. How long has he been watching me? Planning to become me? When I finish photographing everything, I carefully return each item exactly where I found it. Then I step out of the apartment and call the police from my car. My voice shakes as I explain what I've discovered. Sir, are you certain these aren't just costumes? Maybe your roommate does theater? The dispatcher asks. He has my social security number, I say flatly. He has my bank account information. He has multiple IDs with his photo and different names. This isn't theater. They tell me officers will arrive within 30 minutes. I sit in my car, watching our apartment building, afraid to go back inside, but equally afraid to leave in case Tyler returns. I text my girlfriend to warn her, keeping it vague. Don't call my phone today. I'll explain later. Important. 2 patrol cars pull up 20 minutes later. I meet the officers in the parking lot, showing them the photos on my phone before leading them upstairs. They seem skeptical until they see Tyler's room for themselves. Jesus, one officer whispers, lifting a stack of credit cards with his pen. How many identities does this guy have? At least 3 that I know of from the packages, I say. Christopher Lee, Marcus Webb, David Park, but there are more in his notes. The female officer, whose nameplate reads Rodriguez, pulls on latex gloves and carefully opens the black notebook. We're going to need financial crimes for this, she says to her partner. This is way beyond identity theft. Look at these account numbers. They call for backup, and within an hour, our small apartment is filled with police. A detective arrives, introducing himself as Martinez, followed by 2 officers who begin photographing and cataloging everything in Tyler's room. I sit on the couch, answering questions and watching as they dismantle my roommate's elaborate criminal workshop. How long have you lived with the suspect? Detective Martinez asks, his pen poised over a small notebook that reminds me uncomfortably of Tyler's. Almost a year, I say, but the weird behavior only started about 3 months ago, or at least that's when I noticed it. And you never suspected anything until now? I shake my head, shame washing over me. I thought he was just eccentric, maybe dating someone new or getting into some weird hobby. I never imagined. I trail off, gesturing at the officers carrying evidence bags from Tyler's room. Most people wouldn't, Martinez says kindly. These types are good at hiding in plain sight. One of the officers emerges from Tyler's closet with the police uniform I'd seen earlier. This is a genuine APD uniform, he says, his expression grim, not a costume. Martinez's face darkens. Add impersonating an officer to the charges. As they continue their search, I hear keys in the front door. Everyone freezes. The officers exchange glances, and 2 of them move silently toward the entrance, hands on their weapons. The door swings open, and Tyler walks in, headphones on, completely oblivious to the scene unfolding in our apartment. He's wearing one of his button-down shirts and slacks, the Marcus Webb outfit, I realize. He's even carrying the leather messenger bag that goes with that identity. For one heartbeat, no one moves. Then Tyler looks up, sees the police, sees me sitting on the couch, and his face transforms. The friendly, slightly awkward expression he always wears drops away, replaced by something cold and calculating. "What's going on?" he asks, his voice perfectly calibrated to sound confused and concerned. "Tyler Jenkins?" Martinez steps forward. "We have some questions about the items in your room." Tyler's eyes dart to his bedroom door, which stands open, revealing the officers still cataloging his possessions. Something shifts in his posture, and before anyone can react, he bolts. He's out the door and down the hallway in seconds. Two officers take off after him while Rodriguez stays with me. We hear shouting, then a crash, followed by muffled cursing. 5 minutes later, they bring Tyler back in handcuffs, a cut above his eye bleeding slightly. "He tried to jump the railing to the floor below," one officer explains, caught his foot and face planted into the wall. Tyler glares at me with such hatred that I physically recoil. "You had no right," he hisses. "Those were my things, my private property." "My social security number isn't your property," I shoot back, finding courage in the presence of the police. "Neither is Christopher Lee's, or Marcus Webb's, or David Park's." "You don't understand what you've done," Tyler says, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Martinez steps between us. "That's enough. Mr. Jenkins, you're under arrest for identity theft, fraud, possession of false identification documents, and impersonating a police officer. You have the right to remain silent." As they lead Tyler away, I notice the messenger bag he dropped during his escape attempt. It's fallen open, spilling several phones onto the floor, including one I recognize as being identical to mine. Rodriguez follows my gaze and picks up the phone with her gloved hand. "Is this yours?" she asks. I pull my actual phone from my pocket. "No, but it's the same model, same case, even the same crack in the corner of the screen." She bags it as evidence, then turns to me with a serious expression. "You should know, this isn't over. We'll need you to identify which information is yours, help us contact the other victims, and if he's part of a larger operation, which seems likely given the scale, there could be others who might not be happy about this." I nod, the full weight of what's happened, what could have happened, finally hitting me. "What do I do now?" "First, we get you somewhere safe," she says. "Then we start figuring out just how deep this goes." As I follow her out of the apartment, I glance back at the place I've called home for nearly a year. I realize now it was never really mine. It was just another stage for Tyler's elaborate performances, and I was never his roommate, just his next target. Detective Martinez sits across from me in a small interview room at the police station, his face grim as he spreads photographs across the metal table. Each image shows a different person, ordinary people with ordinary lives, all connected by one thing: Tyler Jenkins. "These are just the victims we've identified so far," Martinez says, his voice heavy. 17 individuals whose identities Tyler has stolen or compromised in the past 2 years. We believe there are more." I stare at the faces, wondering if they know yet. If they've discovered the unauthorized credit cards, the drained bank accounts, the loans taken out in their names. If they felt that same sick violation I'm feeling now. "How did he choose them?" I ask, my voice barely audible. Martinez sighs. "Opportunity, mainly. Former roommates, co-workers from the call center, neighbors, people whose personal information he could access. People like you." My phone buzzes with a bank notification. I glance down and feel the blood drain from my face. My checking account. It's empty. Martinez nods like he was expecting this. "We've been seeing this pattern. Once Tyler's operation is compromised, they move quickly to extract whatever they can." Tyler isn't working alone. The scale of this operation is too sophisticated for one person. He slides another photo across the table, surveillance footage showing Tyler meeting with 3 men I've never seen before. "We believe he's part of a network. These are just the associates we've identified so far." I rub my temples, trying to process. "So what happens now? To my money, my credit, my life?" "We'll get you connected with our financial crimes unit. They'll help you file the reports you need to contest the fraudulent charges and start rebuilding your credit." "But," he hesitates. "But what?" "There's something else you need to know." Martinez pulls out his phone and plays a voicemail. A digitally altered voice fills the room. "Tell your new friend to back off. He doesn't know what he's gotten himself into. Next time, it won't just be his bank account we empty." My stomach twists. "Is that?" "We received this at the precinct an hour ago. They specifically mentioned the roommate who called the cops." My phone rings, unknown number. I answer before Martinez can stop me, putting it on speaker. "Hello? You should have minded your own business." The voice is distorted, impossible to identify. "We know where your girlfriend lives. We know where your parents live. We know everything about you." Martinez grabs the phone. "This is Detective Martinez, APD. Who am I speaking with?" The line goes dead. "They'll call back," Martinez says, his expression hardening. "They always do, but we need to get you somewhere safe." 3 hours later, I'm sitting in a sparsely furnished apartment in a building with no exterior signage. The windows have reinforced glass, and the door has 3 locks. A police officer stands guard in the hallway. "It's temporary protective housing," explains Officer Rodriguez, who's been assigned to my case, "just until we can assess the threat level." I look around at the beige walls, the generic furniture. "How long will I be here?" "Hard to say. A few days, maybe a week." She hands me a prepaid phone. "Use this for now. Your regular phone might be compromised." "What about my girlfriend?" "My job?" "We've already notified your girlfriend to be on alert. As for your job," she hesitates, "you might want to take some personal time. These people have access to a lot of your information. They could show up anywhere you regularly go." The reality of my situation crashes down on me. In the space of 24 hours, I've lost my home, my savings, and my sense of security, all because I happened to rent an apartment with the wrong person. My new phone rings. It's Detective Martinez. "We've been going through Tyler's devices," he says without preamble. "The operation is bigger than we thought. There are connections to similar identity theft rings in 6 states. And," he pauses, "there appear to be international ties. Wire transfers to accounts in Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia. What does that mean?" "It means the FBI is taking over parts of the investigation. Agent Keller will be contacting you tomorrow to take a formal statement." After we hang up, I sit on the edge of the unfamiliar bed, staring at the wall. My entire life has been reduced to what I could grab in 15 minutes before the police moved me. A duffel bag of clothes, my laptop, and a photo of my girlfriend and me from last summer, before Tyler entered our lives. The prepaid phone buzzes with a text text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I show it to Rodriguez, who immediately calls it in. 10 minutes later, she returns with a grim expression. The number traces back to a burner phone purchased with a stolen credit card. We're working on getting security footage from the store where it was bought. That night, I barely sleep, jumping at every sound in the unfamiliar apartment. I keep thinking about Tyler's face when the police arrested him. Not angry or scared, but calculating, like he was already 10 steps ahead. In the morning, Agent Keller arrives. She's tall and serious, with the kind of focused intensity that makes you feel simultaneously reassured and terrified. Tyler Jenkins is refusing to cooperate, she tells me as we sit at the small kitchen table, but his devices are talking for him. We've identified connections to a sophisticated identity theft ring operating across multiple countries. Why me? I ask, the question that's been haunting me. Out of all the people he could have targeted, why did he choose to live with me? Agent Keller's expression softens slightly. From what we can tell, you were chosen because you fit a profile. Single, professional, good credit, lives alone, works predictable hours. You were convenient. Just bad luck, I mutter. In a way, she agrees, but you're also the first person who caught on before they completely destroyed your life. That makes you valuable both to us and to them. As if on cue, my prepaid phone rings. Unknown number. Agent Keller nods for me to answer and starts a trace. Hello, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. We can make this all go away, says the distorted voice. All the charges against Tyler, all the problems with your accounts. All you have to do is stop cooperating. And if I don't, then we'll take everything, not just your money, everything. The line goes dead before Agent Keller can complete the trace. They're getting desperate, she says, but her expression is troubled. That's good for us, but it means they might escalate. Later that afternoon, Martinez calls with news that makes my blood run cold. Tyler's requesting a meeting, he says. He says he has information to trade. Information about you. About me? What could he possibly have? He claims you were involved, that you knew what he was doing and took a cut. That's a lie, I nearly shout. We know that, Martinez assures me, but he's trying to muddy the waters, create reasonable doubt. After we hang up, I sit by the window of my safe house, watching people on the street below going about their normal lives. I wonder how long it will be before I can do the same, before I can walk down a street without looking over my shoulder, check my mail without fear, trust a new acquaintance. The prepaid phone buzzes with a text from Agent Keller. Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. We found something in Tyler's cloud storage you need to see. I stare at the message, wondering what new horror awaits me. How deep does this rabbit hole go? And more importantly, will I ever find my way back to the surface? I sit across from Agent Keller in a conference room at the FBI field office, staring at a laptop screen displaying footage that makes my stomach churn. It's me, sitting in my own living room, talking to Tyler about my bank accounts. Yeah, I've got about 12 grand in savings, my recorded self says casually. Been saving for a down payment on a condo. The video cuts to another day, me mentioning my parents' address while writing a birthday card. Another clip shows me reading my credit card number aloud while ordering takeout. Dozens of these moments, all captured without my knowledge, all stitched together to make it look like I was freely offering my financial information. He had cameras hidden throughout the apartment, Agent Keller explains, her voice tight. This compilation was stored in an encrypted folder labeled insurance. Insurance against what? I ask, though I already know the answer. Against exactly what's happening now. He was preparing to frame you as a willing participant if he ever got caught. Martinez, who's been silently watching from the corner, steps forward. Tyler's attorney contacted the DA this morning. They're offering a deal, reduced charges in exchange for testimony against you. Against me? That's insane. I'm the victim here. We know that, Martinez says, holding up his hands. But Tyler's claiming you were his partner, that you helped him identify targets and shared in the profits. That's a lie. My voice echoes off the bare walls. I never knew anything about this until I found those packages. Keller nods. We believe you, but these edited videos make it look like you were voluntarily providing information, combined with the fact that you lived with him for nearly a year without reporting anything suspicious. Because I didn't know. I slam my palm on the table, frustration boiling over. How was I supposed to know? The prosecutor understands that, Martinez says carefully, but Tyler's attorney is pushing hard. They're claiming you only reported him because the relationship soured, not because you suddenly discovered criminal activity. I run my hands through my hair, trying to process this nightmare. So what happens now? Now we build our case, Keller says firmly. These videos are manipulative, but forensic analysis can prove they've been edited and taken out of context. We need to document exactly when and how you discovered Tyler's operation. My new phone buzzes a text from my girlfriend. Need to talk. Someone emptied my bank account. Credit cards maxed out. What's happening? My heart drops. They've gone after my girlfriend, I whisper, showing them the message. Martinez immediately makes a call, arranging for officers to pick her up. We should have anticipated this, he says, anger edging his voice. They're trying to pressure you through her. Within an hour, my girlfriend arrives at the FBI office, pale and shaken. When she sees me, she rushes forward, wrapping her arms around me. They took everything, she says against my shoulder. $15,000 gone, and someone charged over $20,000 on my credit cards overnight. I'm so sorry, I whisper, guilt crushing me. This is all because of me. No, Keller interrupts firmly. This is because of Tyler and his associates. Don't take responsibility for their crimes. We spend the next 3 hours documenting every fraudulent transaction, every account compromise. My girlfriend scrolls through her phone, her face growing increasingly horrified. They changed my passwords, she says. Email, social media, everything. They've locked me out of my entire digital life. They're trying to isolate you both, Martinez explains. Make you feel helpless, desperate. That's when people make mistakes or accept bad deals. What deals? My girlfriend asks, looking between us. I explain about Tyler's plea offer, the edited videos, the attempt to frame me as an accomplice. With each word, her expression shifts from confusion to outrage. That's ridiculous. Anyone who knows you would know you'd never be involved in something like this. Unfortunately, a jury won't know him, Keller says gently. They'll see evidence presented by both sides and make a judgment. Later that evening, in a new safe house where my girlfriend and I have both been relocated, we sit on a worn couch trying to make sense of our shattered reality. I can't believe this is happening, she says, staring at the blank television screen. Last week we were planning a vacation, and now we're in witness protection? It's not officially witness protection, I correct her, just temporary protective housing. She gives me a look that says the distinction hardly matters. How did did Tyler even get my information? I never lived with him. The realization hits me like a punch to the gut. The notebook. He had pages about you in that black notebook. Your schedule. Your parents' names. I trail off, remembering the detailed notes Tyler kept. He was watching both of us. My phone rings. Detective Martinez. Tyler made his first court appearance today, he says without preamble. He's being held without bail due to flight risk, but his attorney submitted some concerning evidence to the DA. What evidence? My voice sounds strange in my own ears. Bank transfers from an account in your name to offshore accounts linked to the identity theft ring, dated consistently over the past 6 months. That's impossible. We know it's fabricated. Martinez cuts in, but it's convincingly done. They created a digital paper trail that makes it look like you were receiving a percentage of the profits. After we hang up, I explain the new development to my girlfriend, watching her face cycle through disbelief to anger. How can they just make up evidence like that? Isn't that illegal? Of course it is, but they're betting that by the time it's proven fake, the damage to my credibility will be done. She takes my hand, squeezing it tightly. We'll get through this. They picked the wrong person to frame. The next morning, Agent Keller arrives with a digital forensics expert named Ramirez. He's brought specialized equipment to analyze my devices and digital footprint. We need to establish your actual online activities during the times these supposed transfers were made, Ramirez explains, setting up his laptop. If we can prove where you really were and what you were actually doing, we can dismantle their fabricated timeline. As he works, Keller pulls me aside. There's something else you should know. We've identified one of Tyler's main associates, the man in the surveillance photos who appears to be in charge. She shows me a driver's license photo of a man with sharp features and cold eyes. Christopher Lee, or at least that's one of his identities. We believe he's the one coordinating the threats and the evidence fabrication. The name hits me like a thunderbolt. Christopher Lee, that was one of the names on the packages Tyler was receiving. Keller nods. Exactly. Tyler was managing multiple identities, but this man appears to be managing Tyler. We think he's the connection to the international operation. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. We can make this all disappear. Just say the word. I show it to Keller, who immediately has Ramirez trace it. But like all the others, it leads to another burner phone, another dead end. They're getting desperate, Keller says, but her expression is grim. The problem is, desperate people make dangerous choices. That night, lying awake in the unfamiliar bed of our safe house, I stare at the ceiling and try to imagine a way back to normal life. My bank account's emptied, my reputation under attack, my girlfriend's financial security destroyed, all because I happened to rent an apartment with someone who saw me not as a roommate, but as an identity to steal, a life to plunder. The worst part is knowing that somewhere out there, Tyler is sitting in a cell, methodically constructing lies about me, turning our year of shared space into a fictional criminal partnership, using my trust against me in the most fundamental way possible. I wonder how many others there are, how many lives Tyler and his associates have dismantled piece by piece, and I wonder if, like me, those people ever suspected the danger living right beside them, eating at their table, borrowing their Netflix password, all while meticulously documenting how to become them. The digital forensics lab at the FBI field office smells like coffee and electronics. I've been here for 6 hours, watching Ramirez work his magic, his fingers flying across multiple keyboards as he dismantles Tyler's digital life piece by piece. Look at this, he says, pointing to a screen filled with code I can't begin to understand. Your roommate's setup wasn't created overnight. The earliest evidence of this operation dates back 3 years, well before you ever met him. Agent Keller leans forward, studying the screen. You're certain? Absolutely. The infrastructure for these shell accounts was established 38 months ago. The first identity theft occurred approximately 6 months after that. Ramirez clicks through several windows, bringing up a timeline. And look at this. The Christopher Lee identity was created 29 months ago. I feel a strange mix of relief and horror. So I really was just the latest target. Not just a target, Keller corrects. You were merchandise. These people trade identities like commodities. Martinez enters the room carrying a thick file folder. His face has the intense look of someone who's just discovered something significant. We've identified Christopher Lee, he announces, spreading photographs across the desk. His real name is Michael Denton, and he's not just Tyler's associate, he's an FBI informant. The room goes silent. Keller's expression hardens as she examines the photos. That's impossible, she finally says. I would have been briefed. He's operating under deep cover with the Organized Crime Division in Chicago, Martinez explains. Been embedded for almost 3 years. When we flagged him in the system, I got a call from Assistant Director Lawson himself. My head spins as I try to process this information. Wait, are you saying the FBI knew about this identity theft ring? Keller and Martinez exchange uncomfortable glances. Not exactly, Keller says carefully. Denton was placed to investigate a money laundering operation connected to Eastern European organized crime. The identity theft aspect appears to have been. It is an unexpected development. Unexpected development? I repeat, my voice rising. My life has been destroyed as an unexpected development? I understand your frustration, Keller says, her professional demeanor cracking slightly, but this changes things. Denton's testimony could be crucial in dismantling the entire network. What about Tyler? I ask. What about the case against him? Martinez sighs. That's why I'm here. The prosecutor wants to meet with you. Tyler's still facing charges, but with Denton involved, things are getting complicated. The prosecutor's office is sterile and intimidating. ADA Winters sits behind her desk, reviewing files while I fidget in an uncomfortable chair across from her. Mr. Jenkins has been very forthcoming since learning about Denton's true identity, she says without looking up. He's provided information on 12 previous victims, all former roommates. 12? The number hits me like a physical blow. There were 12 others before me? Winters nods, finally meeting my eyes. Over the past 6 years, you're the only one who caught on before they completely drained your accounts and destroyed your credit. What happens to them? Do they get their money back? We're working on asset recovery, but much of the money has been moved offshore. She closes the file. The good news is that Tyler is facing 15 years minimum. With the evidence we've gathered and his prior victims coming forward, his attempt to frame you has completely fallen apart. I should feel relieved, but all I feel is hollow. What about Christopher Lee? I mean, Michael Denton? What happens to him? That's complicated. His testimony is essential to prosecuting the international players. In exchange for that cooperation, he's been offered certain considerations. You mean he gets a deal? I say flatly, while I'm left with nothing. Not nothing, she corrects. Your name has been cleared. The evidence Tyler fabricated against you has been discredited. And there's something else. She slides a business card across the desk. Senator Howard's office called. They're drafting new identity theft legislation and want you to testify before Congress about your experience. 3 months later, I stand at a podium in a wood-paneled hearing room on Capitol Hill, adjusting the microphone as I prepare to address the Senate Banking Committee. My girlfriend sits in the gallery behind me, along with 5 of Tyler's previous victims who've flown in from across the country to support the proposed Identity Protection Act. My name is narrator's name, I begin, my voice steadier than I expected. 8 months ago, I discovered that my roommate had been systematically stealing my identity as part of an international criminal enterprise. In the aftermath, I lost my savings, my home, and temporarily, my reputation. I look up at the row of senators watching me intently, but I was lucky. I discovered what was happening before they could completely destroy my life. 12 others weren't so fortunate. Some lost their homes. One declared bankruptcy. Another had her children temporarily removed by CPS when her identity was used to open credit cards funding illegal activities. I gesture to the people sitting behind me. We represent just a fraction of the victims. According to FBI estimates, over 300,000 Americans will have their identities stolen this year by people they know and trust, roommates, colleagues, even family members. As I continue my testimony, I can see Martinez and Keller standing at the back of the room. They've become unlikely allies in the months since Tyler's arrest, helping me navigate the legal system and reconnect the fragments of my life. Tyler received 15 years in federal prison. The trial was mercifully brief, with the evidence so overwhelming that even his attorney advised him to plead guilty. I attended each day of the sentencing hearing, watching as victim after victim described how their lives had been systematically dismantled. The last time I saw Tyler, he was being led away in handcuffs, no longer the easygoing roommate who borrowed my Netflix password, but a stranger who had seen me only as a collection of numbers to exploit. Michael Denton testified against the international players, helping prosecutors indict 23 individuals across 6 countries. His consideration included immunity from prosecution for his role in the identity theft scheme, a bitter pill I'm still learning to swallow. My testimony before Congress lasts nearly 2 hours. When I finish, Senator Howard approaches me. "That was powerful," she says, shaking my hand. "We'd like you to consult on the final language of the bill. Your perspective as a victim is invaluable." Later that evening, my girlfriend and I sit in our new apartment, watching news coverage of the hearing. The reporter describes me as instrumental in uncovering one of the largest identity theft rings in recent history. "How does it feel to be a hero?" my girlfriend asks, squeezing my hand. I consider the question, thinking about the months of anxiety, the sleepless nights, the painstaking work of rebuilding my credit and my life. "I'm not a hero," I finally say. "I'm just someone who looked in a package that wasn't meant for me. Everything else was just surviving the aftermath." She rests her head on my shoulder. "Well, I'm proud of you anyway." My phone buzzes with a text from Martinez. "Just got word. The Identity Protection Act passed committee, headed to full Senate vote next week." I set the phone down, feeling something I haven't experienced in months, a sense that perhaps some good might come from all of this. That maybe the next person who discovers their roommate is stealing their identity will have better protections, better resources, that maybe they won't have to lose everything before someone believes them.